Hi, this is Mary Kay, and I'm going to be painting this very fun pumpkin with a leaf and flower hat today. The first thing I did was I sketched it out, or I traced it actually, using non-water soluble tracing paper, so it's got nice dark lines. I went around most of the leaves in the hat, the eyes, the mouth, this little bit of foliage, and then I made this a little bigger. So it looks like that, the painting there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the background. I'm going to just wet all the background. Oh, I forgot a line there on the right side of the flower hat. My daughter took this painting for her work. She works at a nursery and does a lot of the photography for them. So the very dark brown is very simply, well, that is not it. Let's try this. Just burnt sienna. If you squish out a little bit of paint on top of your old paint, you don't have to spend so much time getting this out. So this is burnt sienna. I'm going to be adding sepia to it just to get a nice brown fast. Okay, here I go. I have a ghost. It's making the floor squeak around me today. A sign ghost. Okay, so there's my first darks in there, and now I'm going to make some green. That's why I keep two cups of water, so that I can have clean water when I switch from a dark to a light color. Okay, so I'm going to use Bumblebee Yellow and a little bit of Antwerp Blue and get a light green. I'm going to start there. I forgot the hat. Wish I had that other line in there. So this is my first layer of the like lemony light green. And there's definitely some of it down in this. I'm keeping the foliage very loose. I'm just painting with this big brush. Now I'm going to go in to darker green, the same two colors, using Bumblebee Yellow and Antwerp. Now see, it's a little darker green. Stab this out because I'm going to have that be a nice red color. Okay, over here. even though the picture's white on the edges, I paint out to the side of the paper. I'm going to paint all the paper. Okay, so there's 2 layers of green. I'm going to do a 3rd layer of green. So this one is almost all Antwerp blue. And I'm just putting these darks fairly randomly. So I really want this loose in the back. Okay, down here I have, oh, I forgot all the darks down here. Well, let's put those in now. I'm just using my 3/4 inch round brush. Okay, I'm going to stop there with that. What I just did was I rinsed out my brush and then I dried it with a sharp point. So this is a thirsty brush. I'm just trying to kind of clean up my edges here because I was a little sloppy. If I had painted a little more carefully, I wouldn't need to do this step. Yeah, I just made it worse, so I'm gonna leave that alone. Let's try this. Now that I've got that sort of damp, it'll bleed if I paint the orange. So right now I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna paint these flowers on the top. I'm gonna start with this bright orange flower with the dark center. To make orange, I have found over the decades I've been doing this, that the best orange is clean yellow, which is bumblebee yellow or Hansa yellow medium, and permanent rose makes the best orange. So I'm gonna paint these petals. I've got a very bright orange here, maybe a little too bright. There's a little leaf that's kind of crazy right there. And then I have this little one. What I'm going to do now is just go in with a little bit of pure yellow and see what happens with this. I get it to sort of blend. Oh, I'm liking that. That was just pure yellow into that orange. So it's wet. I was painting kind of dry on dry, but then this next layer though goes into wet, dry into wet, and it blends, and I like that a lot. Okay, and there's a dark center. It looks like that brown that I mixed. I might put a little bit of pink in it. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Even darker though. There's the flower center. If it bleeds, I'm fine with that. Over here I have some pinks, pinkish purples. So that's permanent rose with a little bit of French or Antwerp in it. I'm just going to dot that and let it bleed. There's some more of that over here, a little redder even, with that dark color. For the center. And a purplish red at the top. Trying to wipe this out because I want that, it's hard to make a purple over a green. So that was a mistake to let that paint get there. I'll let that dry a little bit. Okay, so I'm making this purple now. Permanent rose and French Ultra makes that purple. Let's see what happens if we put it here. Like it. Okay. And then there's a darker, much darker purple underneath that sort of highlighted leaf there. So I'll just put more French into it, and I'll add some neutral tint. I think this is looking pretty good. Pretty dark, I like it. So that dark underneath that leaf makes that purple light one pop up. When you have very dark darks like this, the highlights are very light. And then like you know what we need to do? We need to paint a an eggplant one of these days. Everybody get an eggplant. We'll paint our own eggplant so we can learn that highlight in the darks. It really makes it look like it's a shadow in the dark colors. Doesn't take a lot, just a little. What color leaf do I have in between this red and purple one? I don't know. Kind of green, actually. Okay, I'm just going to fill this in, these colors. This is purple leaf. And this is a purple leaf. What I'm doing right now is just, I'm looking at the picture and I'm seeing where the darks are. I was kind of laughing because I think these are greens in here from the background. So now I'm going to mix up some more greens and go in a little bit of yellow and Antwerp blue will make those greens, and I can do the light greens, which is, this leaf seems to be kind of a light green right here. So let's tuck it in there. And this is kind of a dark green. We'll make it a little darker. And then this looks like a little green showing through. I think I'm gonna leave that alone for now. I'm gonna go back to my big brush and I'm gonna wet my pumpkin now. It's gonna leave if I just painted it, I'm gonna leave a little white line around it. Now I'm making a better orange, or a yellower orange. So I have this blob of yellow here, this yellow pigment, and I'm putting blue on one side and pink on the other side. So I can make green and orange. Okay, so if you notice in the picture that the highlight is right in here. So this is where I want to have it the lightest. So I'm not going to start my brush there. Going around that. I'm going to paint right over those, the eyes, because I'm going to go back in with my darks to put those in. So this is the highlight. This is where I have the least amount of pigment in my brush. If I make my brush strokes the direction of those lines, I almost won't have to paint in the shadows. They're kind of just formed already on their own. So now, if you look at the picture, you can see that this part down here is a form shadow. And right under here is half form shadow and half shadow from the hat. So to make that color, you just have to really look at it. And it looks like it's a little bit of purple into it. It's reddish purple. So I'm starting with the pink. Well, that's pretty close. It's got a little bit of brown. Let's try this. See how it looks. I think it needs to be a little redder and a little more pink into that. Okay, see how this looks. Yeah, it is really pretty pink in the photo. If we were really looking at the pumpkin, we would know better. And then up at the top, there's a shadow right underneath the flowers and the leaves, the hat leaves, especially in these little corners. And I am painting with my big brush just to kind of stay loose. And you can see that there are the ridges in the pumpkin, and you can almost count them if you want and see where they go, but I think I'm gonna I'm using my 3/4 inch brush, but what I do is I flatten it and then just drag it from up here, and then also drag from the bottom. Oh, that was sort of like, we just kind of lightened it and made it go away. Let's try some more. And then over here, there might be one really close to the edge there. And here. And you have to decide where, like this one right here is almost straight, but it's kind of curves that way. And I think that is enough of those lines. In fact, we could almost dot them out with a clean spot on the paper towel. A little too much, if anything. And then I want to go back in and get some real dark shadows right underneath. This is purple here with, this is the purple I made from Permanent Rose and French Ultramarine Blue, and then I'm adding a little bit of neutral tint to it. So the darkest dark is right in here underneath this flower. And then there's some more darks right in here. Now, if I rinse out my brush and dry it, I can get this darkest shadow to blend out into that reddish shadow and really make it look like there's something sitting on top of this pumpkin. I kind of like that. Okay, I'm gonna call it good up there. Down here at the bottom, again, it's gonna be the darkest right next to the ground. And also the ground is gonna be darkest just right under the pumpkin. So I wanna add a little bit of this purple. I'm gonna make it a little more red, just at the very bottom here of the pumpkin. Just trying to make this look round is really what I'm doing. And it's sort of bumpy in here because the pumpkin's not perfectly smooth. So I'm just kind of scratching a little bit. There's a green streak here that I made a mistake with a long time ago. Now the ground, I'm just going to use the same burnt sienna and sepia or neutral tint, and I'm going to go really dark right under the pumpkin. Just another layer under there. Because where it hits the ground is going to be the darkest. It's actually pretty dark over here too, right next to the flowers. And then I'm gonna, let's do this. I'm gonna fill this in more, but now I don't have the most pigment in my brush, and so the darkest is right under the pumpkin where it touches the ground and makes the ground even darker right there. Kind of like the, whatever caused that, I must have touched it with something. So I like the little flecks in the dirt. Okay, now I'm gonna go for the neutral tint, and I'm gonna add Permanent Rose into it and make these eyes. I'm going to add the tiniest bit of water to my brush right now because there's a highlight in this eye because it's the highlight of the pumpkin. So the dark purple, brown, black is, well, I need a littler brush for that little bit of work right there. So I'm just trying to make this little skinny spot right here. I'm gonna leave that there. I hope that kind of granulates a little bit. Now over here, this one's darker. So I'm going to put a little bit more pigment into it, less water. I'll get my little brush and go in that little spot. I think Eleanor just drew these eyes on with a Sharpie. Pretty clever. She's a pretty clever person. And now the mouth. You can do whatever mouth you want. I'm going to go with the mouth that she chose. Makes me laugh. I think it's so funny. I think it's... So she took this pumpkin out into the show gardens and photographed it sitting in all these different spots. This was the best one that they probably use on their website. Okay, so now here's my little brush to, wait, oh, he's gonna have, he's like the Joker. A very big mouth. Oh well. Okay, I'm almost done. I didn't sign it. How am I gonna sign this? What should I do? Is that dark enough? It's my chance. Darken this up a little bit. Okay, I think he looks funny. I kind of like it that way. I am going to sign it with a bamboo in this dark, and hopefully it's still wet enough that when I lift it, my name will be white. Let's see if it works. Mary K. S. Jolly. With a C for copyright. You know, it's Eleanor's picture. There we go.